What's up, guys? So we're back for another video, and for this one I thought we are going to talk about Harriers, right side up and inverted, because in my opinion, if you know how to Harrier, then your life will be much easier if you flying postal, true 3D, say elevator, the same descending knife edge, suicide. For anyone who doesn't know what suicide is, I know there's many names for that. Suicide would be going straight down and you pull up at the last second like this. So that's suicide. And also descending rolling Harrier. Every time I see somebody do that like this, oh Jesus, oh jeez. Okay, anyway, descending rolling Harrier I think is one of the coolest maneuvers. I've seen Colton do that at our field at 2013 when he used to work here in Atlanta, or lived in Atlanta, and he did a rolling Harrier. And 3D back then at our field was big no-no. So descending Harrier, well, that looks pretty shitty, but into a rolling Harrier, and then he popped it in a hover, just like this. It was much more beautiful than that. And the whole field back then, I mean, everyone at the field was just speechless, because nobody's seen anything like that. Chris Henson was doing much crazier things, but this was just beautiful when he did it. And I thought to myself, I need to know how to do that. And it took me almost 3 years. I'm a slow learner, I guess, but it took me 3 years. So by Joe Knoll 2015, I was able to do that and torque roll. So anyone who thinks that they can do it all in like 3 months, 6 months, a year, it's just, you would have to be super talented, I guess. Because I know even Jason used to practice, and he used to practice, and I'm sure practices a lot. The other thing I was wanting to talk about before we get to it is CG. See, I know this with the new planes, and I only really have experience with extreme flight, is that if I can actually put, I'm using Pulse 2250s in my 120cc planes, and regardless where I put those batteries, they could be all the way up front or all the way as far back as I can put it. The plane, when doing 45 degrees, it will just continue 45 degrees. Perfect. It would be neutral when I fly level. It'll be neutral right side up and inverted, again, regardless where those batteries are. But the plane would act completely different, performing certain maneuvers. And so I learned to get my CG right doing a suicide. That is, if you do something like that, nose up just like this, you end up just like that. That's pretty good indicator that your CG is right on. If you end up doing something like this, but the nose is just too low, then let me do it again. That's a pretty bad example. Like this. If it looks like this, but the nose is too low, then you're nose heavy. And obviously, if you're almost doing a hover like this, then it's just too tail heavy. And that really helped me to set up my planes, because the recommendations nowadays is to start out with, when it comes to CG, with just doing the CG on the wingtip and go from there. Because really, these planes are capable of having the batteries just about anywhere. Just about. But really, honestly, there is not many places you can screw up. You can't, everything has its own place except for the batteries. So the place will never be out of whack, right? Even for your maiden flight. the other thing I wanted to talk about is when you go to the field, a few months, even 2-3 months, just bring one plane. Your favorite plane, your prettiest plane, whatever. Just bring one plane and just fly that one plane. Get used to flying that one plane, learn the plane, and it's just going to help you tremendously. Rather than flying 2, 3, 4 planes a day, and then really you can fly one well enough, just like me, crashing all the time. So that's CG throws. It's well known that the ailerons, and it's been asked many, many times, that 38 up and 38 down is pretty safe. Now my extra was 39 up, 37.5 down, according to John Ducia, and you can't question that guy because he's like the god, and I respect him. And of course the tail, max it out. Just max it out. I don't know, 55 on the elevator, 60 on the elevator, and full deflection of the rudder, of course, so far enough that it doesn't touch the elevator. And another thing before we continue is fly in a simulator the way you fly at the field. It means, would you do a 4-point roll this low? Would you do a suicide this low? No. So if you're used to flying knife edges, say in this altitude, well then practice it in a simulator the same way. Maybe go a little bit lower, keep the practice to say 10 minutes, then have a little break and do it again in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. My simulator, my laptop sits on my coffee table, and the remote is under the coffee table, and I do a couple of flights in the morning before I take my son to school, and I do whenever I feel like it, really, that way I don't have to sit in front of it for 30 minutes, hour, or something like that, because it's, whoa, man, look at that. Can we do that in real life? Oh, that would be so cool. Again, descending rolling Harrier is so cool, and these loops. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Harrier. So, Harrier, right side up. There it is. Pretty, every plane, depending on the CG, of course, as well, will like different angle of attack. So, it could be anywhere from 20 to, say, 75, 80. And those are not difficult to do. You just kind of have to get over the fear. Because left is left, up elevator is up, left rudder is left rudder, and so on. So, but when you get to inverted, that's when everything changes. So aileron's still okay, but elevator's inverted, and the biggest issue people have with is the rudder. So I want to give you a little comparison. So let's say you sit in a car looking at the plane coming from this direction, right? If you want to go left, you have to pull the stick to the right. If you want to go the other direction, I would have to slow it down, and I will slow it down for you. So, what I wanted to say is that if you're sitting in a car and you put your hands on top of your wheel, steering wheel, and you want to go left, go left, you pull to the left, and the car turns left. If you want to go right, you go right. You pull to the right, and it goes to the right. That makes sense. If you're inverted, now imagine yourself putting your hands on the bottom of the steering wheel. If you want to go right, you pull the steering wheel to the left, and the other way around, right? I think that's a pretty good comparison. So let's get to the Harrier. Right side up. I was once told, can't remember by whom, but you lead with your wings. So you lean the wings to the direction you want to go, and you steer with the rudder. So you keep the wings leaned into the direction you want to go and steer with the rudder. Now, notice the sticks. See the sticks, they're countered. Basically, I'm giving it right aileron and left rudder. And that's pretty much what you're always going to see, even inverted. Leaning the wings. Steering with the rudder. Now, inverted Harriers are much more stable once you wrap your mind around the rudder being inverted and of course the elevator being inverted, but they're much more stable, require much less elevator. And one other advice would be make absolute minimal inputs. There's no need to go full up with the elevator all of a sudden if the plane is descending. Instead, you can keep the elevator where it's at and just give it more throttle and the plane will pitch up. So again, there's no magic, where do I put my sticks? Rather, you have to fly the plane at any given moment, which of course makes sense, I know, but so again, lean with the wings. Now you can keep the wings nice and level and steer just with the rudder. Actually, that looks pretty cool too. Let me go back to realistic speed. So let's just say you practice a lot and now you're ready to take it out real. And one thing, instead of just Harrier aimlessly, try to Harrier right down the runway without any deviation to the right, left, and same with inverted. Sorry about the pumping, I'm just used to pumping, so I know many people don't like that, but bite me. I don't mean it in a humorous way. So right down the runway, instead of just, hey, look at me, I'm Harriering, but really don't know where I'm going with this. So right down the runway, make a nice turnaround, line it with the runway, and just keep going. Just like this. Get the full length of the runway if you want to, or just, and over time you're gonna find out where the plane likes to be when it comes to angle of attack. You know, now your plane, I like it right here, I fly the best, or all the way to say 20 degrees or something like that. Whoa! Not what I wanted to do. Now, I believe that, like I said earlier, the Harrier is, if you can Harrier, and life is easier. Even say for you Harrier, and hover. Look, you're in a hover right here. It's that easy. Instead, how many times do you see people come in and do a wall like this, and then they end up like over here, and they're trying to control it. Now they can't descend yet, so you know you're in a dead zone. If that plane dies, that's the end of the plane. Or you see people do like this, cut the power, and just hoping they're not gonna climb. Right, so like you'll probably be somewhere over here, maybe even higher. How to say it nicely. Anyway, either way, if you can Harrier, you can just bring it nice and low. You Harrier nice and low, and just pop it in a hover. There it is, right? Same with inverted. Come in inverted, pop it in a hover. You can now. How do we enter elevator? So you just need to basically stall the plane, and it could be anything. You go straight down, pull up, and now you're in an elevator. You descend as low as you want to go. And you know what? Doing elevators is pretty good practice for Harriers too. It's pretty much the same. But how do you enter it from, say, level flight? You can just do a deep snap like this. Probably wouldn't do that many rotations. It's just not the same in the simulator. Definitely not a wall. Wall is just, I don't know, good ways to snap a wing. But you can enter Harrier from even from takeoff. Just go and just pull. There you are. Really can't think of how to enter Harrier. I mean, if you can think of anything, let me know. And but can't think of anything. Of course, and one other thing I wanted to talk about is, why don't you see anybody doing descending knife edges anymore? Right? Just like that. This plane's obviously not set up right, but let me do it from the other side. We all prefer one side over the other. Every one of us. Just like this. Those are cool. Or nice, slow knife edges. Richard Hummel is like the master of that. Nice, slow knife edges. Well, that's about it. I can't think of anything else. Let me know what other maneuver. But I know the inverted Harrier. The right side up Harrier is cool, but the inverted Harrier is where it is. I mean, that's cool. Sounds different too, because the stacks are pointing up, and it just sounds better, looks better. See, and minimal inputs. If you don't know, just gas it and fly out. If you freak out. But to fly inverted Harrier, I think it took me 6 months. Really, you need to be. It needs to be a second nature. You can't be thinking, which way do I pull this rudder? Like, you just know. I mentioned that in the other video. Those really good guys, when you ask them how they do maneuver, they honestly, they don't know. They have to grab the radio and then they'll see for themselves, which is funny. But just practice. Just remember, it's just a hobby. We all do it for fun. You don't have to impress anybody. There's no money in it. It's just fun. Don't know what will be the next video about. Possibly throwing Harrier. Now that took me a year and a half to learn. And guess what? I can't roll to the right for shit. I can do this. And that. Woo! I thought I could. Saved it. Anyway, I can't roll to the right. At some point, what? Jeez. And guess what? I'm not going to try to learn that anymore. Maybe. Chances are no. Anyway, you guys have happy Thanksgiving. And I will try to pop another video tomorrow. See you later.